At 2 in the morning, my doorbell rang 7 times. When I opened it, my daughter Christine fell into my arms, her left eye swollen shut, blood crusting her split lip. She could barely speak through her sobs. "Mom, he hit me. Derek hit me because I confronted him about her." I guided her inside, my hands steady, even as rage ignited in my chest. While she collapsed on my couch, I walked to my closet and pulled on my police captain's uniform. Then I made one call to my deputy. "The plan starts now." I kept my voice calm and professional as I hung up with Paula, my most trusted deputy. 23 years on, the force had taught me that rage, however justified, had to be channeled into action. I returned to the living room where Christine sat, hunched forward, her arms wrapped around herself like she was trying to hold the pieces together. "Let me see," I said gently, kneeling in front of her. She lifted her face, and the full extent of the damage made my stomach clench. The swelling around her eye had already turned a deep purple. Her lower lip was split in 2 places. When she tried to turn her head, she winced and grabbed her side. "Your ribs?" I asked. She nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. "He kicked me when I was on the floor." I went to the bathroom and returned with my first aid kit, the same one I kept stocked for emergencies. As I carefully cleaned the blood from her face, I asked the questions I needed to ask, even though each answer felt like a knife to my own heart. "How long, Christine?" She closed her eyes. 8 months. 8 months. My daughter had been living with violence for 8 months, and I had not known. I thought of all the times she had canceled plans, made excuses, worn long sleeves in summer. The physical violence started 4 months after that. A shove. Then a grab that left bruises on her arm. Then a slap. Each time, he apologized. Each time, he blamed stress, or alcohol, or her behavior. Each time, she forgave him, hoping it would be the last time. "Tonight was different," Christine said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I found text messages on his phone. He was with someone, Amanda, his business partner's wife. They have been seeing each other for a year. I knew Amanda. I had met her at Christine's wedding. She was married to Gary, Derek's partner in their construction company. I confronted him when he came home tonight," Christine continued. "I told him I knew about Amanda, that I was going to tell Gary, that I wanted a divorce. He laughed at me, Mom. He said I could not prove anything, that I had no money, no job, nowhere to go. He said if I tried to leave, he would make sure I got nothing. And then he hit you," I said. "He grabbed me by the throat and slammed me against the wall. He said I was his wife and I would do what he told me. When I tried to get away, he punched me. When I fell, he kicked me." She was shaking now, the trauma of the night catching up with her. "But there is something else, Mom. Something worse." I waited, holding her hand. "I am pregnant. 3 months." The words hung in the air between us. I thought of the grandchild growing inside my battered daughter, and the rage I had been controlling threatened to overflow. "Derek knows," Christine continued. "I told him 2 weeks ago. He was angry. He said we could not afford a baby right now, that I needed to take care of it. When I refused, he said he would make my life hell if I kept it. Tonight, when I told him about wanting a divorce, he said the baby was just another way I was trying to trap him." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "He told me that if I did not get rid of it, he would do it for me. That is when I knew I had to leave. I could not protect myself, but I could protect my baby." Something fierce and primal rose in me then. This man had hurt my daughter. He had threatened my grandchild, and he thought he could get away with it because Christine had no one, no resources, no power. He had forgotten one thing. She had me. I stood up and pulled out my phone. "I am calling Paula. She is coming here to take photographs and your official statement. Then we are going to the hospital." "Mom, I do not want to make this a big thing," Christine started. I knelt in front of her again, taking both her hands in mine. "Listen to me, sweetheart. This is already a big thing. Derek assaulted you. He threatened you and your unborn child. This is not something we sweep under the rug. This is something we document, prosecute, and punish. She looked uncertain, and I understood why. 8 months of manipulation had trained her to minimize, to excuse, to take responsibility for his actions. You did nothing wrong, I told her firmly. Nothing you did or said or wore justified him putting his hands on you. Nothing. Do you understand me? She nodded slowly, and I saw a spark of something in her eyes. Maybe anger, maybe hope, maybe just the beginning of realizing she deserved better. Paula arrived within 20 minutes, her camera bag over her shoulder. She had been my deputy for 11 years, and I trusted her completely. She photographed Christine's injuries from every angle, her face professional but her eyes furious. Paula had a teenage daughter of her own. After the photographs, Paula took Christine's statement, recording every detail. When Christine described Derek's threats about the baby, Paula's jaw tightened, but she kept her voice steady and encouraging. You are incredibly brave, Paula told Christine when they finished. Coming forward is the hardest part. While they talked, I made coffee and started pulling together the resources I had built over 2 decades of police work. I sent messages to contacts in the district attorney's office. I reached out to a victim's advocate I knew. I texted my friend Helen, a family law attorney who specialized in domestic violence cases. By 4 a.m, we were at the hospital. The emergency room doctor, a woman named Dr. Sarah Brennan, examined Christine thoroughly. What we discovered was worse than the visible injuries suggested. 3 fractured ribs, Dr. Brennan said, showing us the x-rays. And a concussion. The head injury is consistent with her head striking a wall or floor with significant force. Christine, you are lucky there is no internal bleeding. She ordered additional tests to make sure the baby was unharmed. The ultrasound showed a strong heartbeat, and I watched Christine's face soften as she saw her child moving on the screen. Dr. Brennan documented everything in meticulous detail. As a doctor who regularly saw domestic violence victims, she knew how important proper documentation would be. I was in the hospital cafeteria getting Christine some water when Paula called. Simone, we have a problem. My hand tightened on the phone. What? Derek filed a missing persons report 2 hours ago. He is claiming Christine is mentally unstable and suicidal. He called it in to the county sheriff's office, probably hoping it would not get to us immediately. He is playing the worried husband, saying she has been erratic and he is concerned for her safety. I felt cold fury wash over me. Derek was not just an abuser. He was calculating, setting up a narrative that would make Christine look unreliable if she came forward. There is more, Paula said. He called Christine's workplace, that marketing firm she worked at before, told them she was having a mental health crisis and would not be in. He is trying to sabotage her professionally too. He is trying to isolate her completely. I said, make sure no one believes her when she tells the truth. That is exactly what he is doing. But Simone, he does not know we are already 10 steps ahead of him. She was right. We had photographs, medical documentation, and an official statement taken by a police deputy. Derek's attempt to control the narrative was too late. Get a psychiatrist to evaluate Christine right now, I told Paula. I want documentation that she is of sound mind. Also, start the paperwork for an emergency protection order. I want it served to Derek by noon. Already on it, Paula said. When I returned to Christine's room, Dr. Brennan was finishing up. The baby is fine, she assured Christine, but you need to rest and avoid any stress. I almost laughed at that. How was my daughter supposed to avoid stress when her husband had just tried to kill her? Dr. Brennan must have seen something in my face because she added, I have been a physician for 19 years. I have seen too many women in Christine's situation. The fact that she got out, that she came to you, that she is letting us help her, those are signs of tremendous strength. Most women do not make it this far. A hospital psychiatrist came to evaluate Christine, a kind man named Dr. Patel who specialized in trauma. He spent an hour with her and concluded that she was fully competent. not a danger to herself or others, and showed clear signs of being a victim of sustained domestic abuse. Her thought processes are logical and coherent. Doctor, Patel told me. She is traumatized, certainly, but she is thinking clearly and making rational decisions. If anyone tries to claim she is mentally unstable, I will testify otherwise. By the time we left the hospital at 7 in the morning, we had built a fortress of documentation around Christine. Medical reports, photographs, psychiatric evaluation, police statement. Derek's attempt to paint her as unstable would crumble in the face of professional, objective evidence. I took Christine back to my house and settled her in the guest room, the same room she had slept in as a child. She fell asleep almost immediately, exhausted by trauma and pain. I went to my own room but did not sleep. Instead, I sat at my desk and called in every favor I had earned over 23 years of service. By 10 in the morning, I had assembled a team. Helen, the family law attorney, arrived at my house with a briefcase full of documents. Paula came with a detective named Marcus, who specialized in financial crimes, and my friend Janet from the district attorney's office joined us via video call. We spread out across my dining room table, building our case. The protection order will be served to Derek at noon, Paula reported. It prohibits him from contacting Christine or coming within 500 feet of her. Good, Helen said. I am filing for emergency custody of the unborn child, citing the threats Derek made. I am also filing for divorce on Christine's behalf, requesting the house, half of all assets, and full custody, with 0 visitation. He is going to fight that, Janet warned. Men like Derek always do. Let him fight, I said. We have evidence. What do we have on his finances? Marcus pulled up his laptop. I have been digging since Paula called me at 5 this morning. Derek and Gary run a construction company called Summit Builders. On paper, it looks legitimate. But when you go deeper, things get interesting. He turned the screen so we could see spreadsheets and bank statements. Derek has been skimming money from the business for at least 2 years, small amounts at first, then larger sums. He has a separate account that Christine does not know about. There is $73,000 missing from various projects. Where did the money go? I asked. That is where it gets complicated, Marcus said. Some went to personal expenses, expensive dinners, hotel rooms, gifts. But a lot of it went to paying off debts. Credit cards, personal loans. Derek is in deep financial trouble. Paula pulled up another file. And then there is Amanda. Amanda Walsh, married to Gary Walsh. I ran a background check on her. She has a record. What kind of record? Helen asked. Fraud. She was convicted 8 years ago of running a credit card scam. Derek helped her seal the record when they got together. I found it through some old contacts in the county clerk's office. The pieces were starting to come together, but I felt like we were still missing something. Keep digging into the finances, I told Marcus. There is more here. I can feel it. He nodded and went back to his laptop, his fingers flying over the keys. 2 hours later, he sat back with a look of grim satisfaction. I found it. We all gathered around his computer. Derek has been running an insurance fraud scheme. He stages break-ins at his construction sites, claims tools and materials were stolen, then files insurance claims. But the tools were never stolen. He just moves them to the next job site and files false claims. How long has this been going on? Janet asked. At least 18 months. And here is the best part. The insurance adjuster approving all these claims is a woman named Tracy Hoffman. I cross-referenced her phone number with Derek's phone records. He pulled up another screen. They have been in contact constantly. Text messages, phone calls, meetings. So Amanda is not the only woman, Paula said. Amanda is a distraction, I said, understanding flooding through me. Derek let Christine find out about Amanda because it kept her focused on the affair instead of the money. The real relationship, the real crime, is with Tracy. Marcus nodded. And there is one more thing. Several of these fraudulent claims were filed using Christine's credentials. Derek forged her signature on documents. If this comes to light without context, Christine could be implicated. The room went silent as we all understood the implications. Derek had not just been abusing Christine, he had been setting her up to take the fall for his crimes. That is why he wanted her isolated and dependent, Helen said slowly. If she had no job, no income, no independence, and then he divorced her, and these fraud charges came out, she would look complicit. She would have no credibility, no resources to defend herself. And if she ended up pregnant and desperate, even better, Paula added. She would look like a scorned wife making up stories. I thought about my daughter sleeping upstairs, battered and traumatized, carrying a child, and having no idea how close she had come to being destroyed completely. We need to move fast, Janet said. If Derek realizes we are onto him, he will destroy evidence. Can you get warrants? I asked. With what Marcus has found? Yes. But it will take a few days. We do not have a few days, I said. Derek is going to realize something is wrong as soon as he is served with that protection order. He will know Christine talked to someone. Paula checked her watch. The order is being served right now. My phone rang. It was the officer I had sent to serve the order. Captain, we have a situation. Derek is not at his home. His car is gone. We checked his office. He is not there either. I felt a chill. Find him. Now. I hung up and looked at my team. Derek knows something is wrong. He is running. But then Paula's phone buzzed. She looked at it and her eyes widened. He is not running. He is at the police station. He just walked in and asked to speak to someone about his missing wife. We all looked at each other. Derek was not running. He was going on the offensive. He is going to try to control the narrative in person, Helen said. Make himself look like the victim. I stood up. Then let's go have a conversation with him. Marcus, keep digging. Find everything. Helen, prepare those divorce papers. Janet, start working on those warrants. Paula and I drove to the station. Derek was waiting in the lobby, and when he saw me walk in, his face showed a flicker of surprise before settling into false concern. Captain Brewer. Thank God. I am so worried about Christine. She left last night and I am afraid she might hurt herself. She has been so unstable lately. I kept my face neutral. Mr. Harrison. Please come with me. We can talk in private. I led him to an interrogation room. Not an office. An interrogation room. The symbolism was not lost on him. I saw his eyes narrow as he took in the camera mounted in the corner. The metal table. The uncomfortable chairs. Is this really necessary? He asked. I just want to find my wife. Sit down, Mr. Harrison, I said. We have some things to discuss. Derek sat across from me in the interrogation room, his expression a careful mask of concern. Paula stood by the door, her hand resting casually near her service weapon, not threatening, but present. Derek noticed. Mr. Harrison, when exactly did you last see your wife? I asked, my voice professionally neutral. Last night, around 10 o'clock, we had an argument. She got very emotional and left. I thought she just needed to cool down, but when she did not come back, I got worried. He leaned forward, his voice earnest. Captain, Christine has been struggling lately, mood swings, erratic behavior. I have been trying to get her to see someone, but she refuses. I nodded slowly, as if considering his words. And what was this argument about? Honestly, I do not even remember. Something small. She has been so sensitive lately. Everything sets her off. He ran a hand through his hair, playing the exhausted, concerned husband. I am worried she might do something to hurt herself. I see. I opened the folder I had brought with me. Mr. Harrison, do you own a vehicle? He looked confused by the change of topic. Yes. A black Ford F-150. And where was that vehicle last night at 10 o'clock? In my driveway. Why? I slid a photograph across the table. It was a still from a neighbor's security camera, time-stamped at 9:47 the previous evening. It showed Derek's truck in his driveway, and Derek standing next to it, smoking a cigarette. His knuckles were clearly bloody. Derek stared at the photo. I watched his mind work, trying to find an explanation. "I must have cut my hand on something," he said finally. "On what?" "I do not remember. Maybe when I was working in the garage." I pulled out another photograph. Christine's face, taken at 4 in the morning. The split lip, the swollen eye, the bruising around her throat. Does this look like someone who left after an argument about something small? Mr. Harrison. His face paled, but he recovered quickly. "I do not know what happened to her after she left. Maybe she got into an accident. Maybe she fell." "She fell," I repeated. "Multiple times, I suppose. Once into a fist that split her lip, once into a wall that gave her a concussion, once onto a floor where a boot fractured 3 of her ribs." "I never," he started. "You never what? Hit her?" "Because we have medical documentation that says otherwise. We have her statement, given to a police deputy, and recorded. We have a hospital psychiatric evaluation that confirms she is fully mentally competent and coherent." I leaned forward. "What you do have, Mr. Harrison, is a pattern of domestic violence, documented evidence of assault, and a very big problem." Derek's mask slipped. "She is lying. She is making this up because she is angry about Amanda. This is revenge." "Amanda Walsh," I said. "Your business partner's wife." "Yes, we know about her. We also know about Tracy Hoffman." The name hit him like a physical blow. His face went white. "Tracy Hoffman, the insurance adjuster who has approved $78,000 in fraudulent claims for you over the past 18 months. Tracy Hoffman, who you have been in contact with over 500 times in the past year." Should I go on? Derek's mouth opened and closed. No words came out. "We have been very busy since Christine arrived at my home at 2 this morning," I continued. "We have been pulling bank records, phone records, security footage, insurance claims. We have been talking to very interested people at the district attorney's office. Would you like to know what we found?" My phone buzzed. It was a text from Paula, who was outside the room. "Amanda and Tracy, in custody." I felt a surge of satisfaction but kept my face neutral. I stood up and walked to the door, speaking quietly to Paula. When I came back, Derek was sweating. "Mr. Harrison, Amanda Walsh, and Tracy Hoffman were just arrested. They are being questioned right now. I imagine they have a lot to say." Derek's composure shattered. "I want a lawyer." "That is your right," I said. "But before your lawyer gets here, let me tell you what is going to happen. You are going to be charged with domestic violence. That is a certainty. You are also going to be charged with insurance fraud, embezzlement, and forgery. We found documents where you forged Christine's signature, trying to make her look complicit in your schemes." His eyes widened. He had not expected us to find that. "You thought you were so smart," I said, my voice hard. "You thought you could beat your wife, steal money, frame her for your crimes, and get away with it. You thought she had no one, no resources, no power. She has me. This is harassment," he said, his voice rising. "You are her mother. You cannot be objective. This whole investigation is compromised." "Oh, I am not investigating you," I said. "Detective Paula Chen is investigating you. Detective Marcus Rivera is investigating your finances. The district attorney's office is building the case against you. I am just the person who called them all in when my daughter showed up at my door, bleeding and terrified." I leaned down so I was at his eye level. "But you are right about one thing. I am not objective. I am a mother whose child was hurt, and I am going to make sure you pay for every single bruise, every single threat, every single moment of fear you caused her." Derek lunged out of his chair toward me. Paula was there instantly, slamming him back into the seat. 2 other officers rushed in. "That is assaulting a police officer," Paula said calmly. "Add it to the list." As they handcuffed Derek, his phone, which was on the table, started ringing. The screen showed, "Amanda." Paula picked it up. "Too late. she said to no one in particular. She is trying to warn him. Derek was read his rights and taken to a holding cell. I walked out of the interrogation room and found Marcus waiting with his laptop. He showed me recordings of phone calls between Derek and Tracy. In one, Derek laughed about how Christine is too stupid to notice anything. In another, he told Tracy, "I have kept her in the dark about everything. She does not suspect a thing." His own arrogance, recorded and time-stamped, destroyed any chance he had of claiming Christine knew about the fraud. But there was one more recording that made my blood run cold. "The baby is a problem," Derek's voice said. "Can you convince her to get rid of it?" Tracy asked. "If she will not, I will solve the problem myself, one way or another." "Be careful," Tracy warned. "Accidents happen," Derek said. "Pregnant women fall downstairs all the time." Marcus and I looked at each other. "That is conspiracy," he said quietly. "That is attempted murder," I corrected. I drove home in silence, Marcus' words echoing in my head. Derek had not just hit Christine in a moment of anger. He had been planning something far worse. The fractured ribs, the concussion, the specific pattern of injuries, they all made terrible sense now. When I got home, Christine was awake, sitting at the kitchen table with Helen. They both looked up when I walked in. "Derek was arrested," I said. Christine's face crumpled with relief, fear, and something else I could not quite name. "What happens now?" I sat down across from her and told her everything. The fraud, Tracy, the forged documents, and finally, the recording. When I got to the part about Derek planning to make her fall downstairs, Christine went very still. "He was going to kill me," she said softly, "and make it look like an accident." "Yes," I said, because she deserved the truth. "I think he was." She put her hand on her stomach, protective and fierce, "because of the baby." Helen reached over and squeezed Christine's other hand. "You are safe now. He is in custody. He cannot hurt you." But Christine was not crying. She was angry. "I need to see something." She pulled out her phone and started scrolling. After a moment, she held it up. "Look at this." It was a notification from her bank. A life insurance policy had been purchased in her name 6 months ago, $500,000, with Derek as the sole beneficiary. "I never signed this," Christine said. "I never even knew about it." Marcus, who had followed me home, looked at the notification and his jaw tightened. "He forged your signature on this too. 6 months ago, right after you told him you were pregnant." The pieces fell into place with horrible clarity. Derek had planned this. The isolation, the abuse, the financial fraud, the life insurance policy. He had been setting up Christine's death to look like a tragic accident, while profiting from it. "We have him," Marcus said. "This is not just domestic violence anymore. With the recording, the life insurance policy, and the injury pattern, we can prove premeditated, attempted murder." Christine stood up abruptly and walked to the window, her arms wrapped around herself. I went to her, putting a gentle hand on her shoulder. "I was so stupid," she whispered. "No," I said firmly. "You were manipulated by someone who is very good at manipulation. You were isolated and controlled and gaslit. None of that is your fault." "I should have seen it," she insisted. "The signs were there. The controlling behavior, the financial secrecy, the mood swings. Sweetheart, abuse works because abusers are skilled at making their victims believe they deserve it. They make you doubt yourself, question your reality, feel like you are the problem. That is not stupidity. That is trauma." Helen came over and stood on Christine's other side. "Your mother is right. I have represented dozens of domestic violence victims. Smart women, successful women, strong women. Abuse does not discriminate. And leaving, what you did last night, that is the hardest and bravest thing you could have done." Christine turned to look at me, tears streaming down her face. "I was so scared, Mom. I did not know where else to go." "You came to exactly the right place," I told her, pulling her into a careful hug. mindful of her injuries. And now we are going to make sure he never hurts anyone again. Over the next few days, our case against Derek grew stronger. Amanda and Tracy both agreed to testify against him in exchange for reduced sentences. Gary, Derek's business partner, was devastated to learn about both the affair and the embezzlement. He gave investigators full access to company records. Christine filed for divorce with Helen's help. She also filed a restraining order that would extend beyond Derek's incarceration, and she started therapy. Her therapist, Dr. Angela Martinez, specialized in domestic violence and trauma. Twice a week, Christine drove to Dr. Martinez's office and started unpacking 8 months of abuse. She says it is going to take time. Christine told me after her 3rd session that I cannot just flip a switch and undo all the damage Derek did to my sense of self. That is true, I said. Healing is not linear. Some days will be harder than others. She also says I need to forgive myself, Christine continued, for staying, for not seeing the signs earlier, for believing his apologies, but I do not know how to do that. I thought about my own past, about the mistakes I had made. When your father left us, you were 5 years old. For years, I blamed myself. I thought if I had been a better wife, if I had tried harder, he would have stayed. It took me a long time to understand that his leaving was about him, not me. Christine looked at me with surprise. You never told me you felt that way. I did not want you to see me as weak, I admitted. But the truth is, we all have moments where we doubt ourselves, where we take responsibility for things that are not our fault. The difference is learning to recognize that and move forward. Christine also started attending a support group for domestic violence survivors. She was reluctant at first, worried about being judged or having to share her story with strangers. But after her first meeting, she came home with something I had not seen in her face for a long time. Hope. There were 8 women there, she told me. All different ages, backgrounds, situations, but we all understood each other. We all knew what it felt like to love someone who hurt us, to make excuses for them, to think we could fix them. And we all knew what it took to leave. One woman in the group, a teacher named Brenda, became particularly close with Christine. Brenda had left her abusive husband 3 years earlier and had rebuilt her life completely. She became a mentor of sorts, showing Christine that there was life after abuse, that healing was possible. Christine's workplace reached out to her as well. When they learned the truth about Derek's call claiming she was having a mental health crisis, they were mortified. Her former boss, a woman named Dorothy, called personally to apologize and to offer Christine her old job back. We should have questioned it more, Dorothy said. We should have reached out to you directly. I am so sorry we did not. Christine accepted the job offer, but negotiated for remote work until after the baby was born. She needed flexibility, and Dorothy agreed immediately. Slowly, piece by piece, Christine started rebuilding. She opened her own bank account. She got a new phone number that Derek did not know. She started making decisions about her own life again. But the hardest part was still ahead. Derek's trial. The trial began on a cold morning in February, 4 months after Christine had shown up at my door. The courthouse was packed. Gary was there, looking grim. Amanda's husband filed for divorce as soon as she was arrested, and he sat in the back, watching with hard eyes. Members of the media filled several rows, intrigued by the story of a construction company owner who had tried to murder his pregnant wife. Christine sat at the prosecution's table next to the assistant district attorney, a sharp woman named Victoria Chen. I sat directly behind Christine, close enough to touch her shoulder if she needed me. Derek was brought in wearing a suit, his lawyer beside him. His lawyer, Robert Andrews, was expensive and aggressive. He had built a career defending wealthy men accused of crimes, and he was very good at it. The trial lasted 2 weeks. Victoria methodically presented evidence, medical reports showing Christine's injuries, photographs of her bruised face and body, the hospital psychiatric evaluation proving she was mentally sound, financial records showing Derek's embezzlement, phone records proving his relationship with Tracy, the forged documents with Christine's signature, the life insurance policy she never knew about, and most damning of all, the recording of Derek and Tracy discussing how to handle the baby problem. Amanda testified first. She was thin and nervous, picking at her cuticles as she spoke. She admitted to the affair, which had lasted 8 months. She admitted to helping Derek hide money. She claimed she did not know about the abuse. "He told me his marriage was over," Amanda said. "He said Christine knew about us and did not care. He made it sound like they had an arrangement." "And the insurance fraud?" Victoria asked. "That was Derek's idea. I just introduced him to Tracy." Tracy was next. She was colder, more calculating. She admitted to approving false claims in exchange for a cut of the money. She also admitted that Derek had told her about wanting to get rid of Christine. He said she was a problem. Tracy testified that she was going to ruin everything. "He asked me if I knew anyone who could make it look like an accident," the courtroom murmured. Derek's lawyer objected, but the judge overruled him. "And what did you say?" Victoria asked. "I told him to be careful, that it was too risky, but he seemed determined." Then it was Christine's turn to testify. She walked to the stand slowly, her hands trembling. She was 6 months pregnant now, her belly visible beneath her modest blue dress. She placed her hand on the Bible and swore to tell the truth. Victoria started gently, walking Christine through her relationship with Derek, how they had met, fallen in love, gotten married, how things had slowly changed, the control, the criticism, the isolation. "When did he first hit you?" Victoria asked. "He slapped me because I bought the wrong kind of bread." She described 8 months of escalating abuse, the apologies that followed each incident, the promises to change, the blame he placed on her, on stress, on alcohol, on anything but himself. "And the night you left, what happened?" Christine took a breath. "I found text messages between Derek and Amanda. I confronted him. He told me I had nowhere to go, that I had no money, no job, that no one would believe me. When I said I was going to tell his partner Gary, he grabbed me by the throat and slammed me against the wall. He told me I belonged to him. When I tried to get away, he punched me in the face. When I fell, he kicked me in the ribs. He kept kicking me until I could not breathe." "What were you thinking in that moment?" "I was thinking about my baby," Christine said, her hand moving to her stomach. "I was thinking that if I did not get out of that house, he was going to kill us both." The courtroom was silent. Then it was Robert Andrews' turn. He stood up slowly, buttoning his jacket, preparing to attack. "Mrs. Harrison," he began, "is not it true that you had been struggling with your mental health prior to this alleged incident?" "No," Christine said firmly. "But your husband called your workplace to express concern about your mental state." "My husband lied to my workplace to isolate me and damage my credibility," Christine replied. Andrews tried again. "Is not it true that you were angry about your husband's relationship with Amanda Walsh?" "Yes, I was angry about the affair, angry enough to make up false accusations. I did not make up anything. The medical evidence speaks for itself." Andrews pulled out photographs. "These injuries could have been caused by a fall, could they not?" "No." "Doctor," Brennan's voice came from the witness gallery. "They could not." The judge allowed Dr. Brennan to clarify. She walked the jury through the injuries, explaining how defensive wounds on Christine's arms, the finger-shaped bruises on her throat, and the fracture pattern on her ribs were all consistent with assault, not a fall. Andrews tried a different approach. "Harrison, is it not true that you knew about your husband's business dealings?" "No. Derek kept me completely in the dark about his finances. But these documents have your signature. Those signatures are forged. Handwriting experts confirmed that." Andrews was losing ground, and he knew it. He tried to poke holes in the timeline, to suggest Christine had ulterior motives, to paint her as a vengeful wife. But every time he pushed, Victoria objected, or Christine calmly refuted him, or the evidence proved him wrong. Finally, Derek took the stand. His lawyer had advised against it, but Derek insisted. He was confident, arrogant even. He thought he could charm the jury. Victoria's cross-examination was surgical. "Mr. Harrison, you claim you never hit your wife. How do you explain the photographs of her injuries? She must have gotten them after she left the house. And the neighbor's security footage showing you with bloody knuckles at 9:47 that evening? I cut my hand in the garage." "On what?" "I do not remember." "You do not remember sustaining an injury severe enough to cause significant bleeding, but you remember clearly that your wife left after an argument at 10 o'clock. Derek hesitated. "Yes." Victoria pulled out the recording. "Is this your voice, Mr. Harrison?" They played the clip. Derek's voice filled the courtroom. "The baby is a problem. If she will not get rid of it, I will solve the problem myself. Accidents happen. Pregnant women fall downstairs all the time." The jury's faces changed. They had been listening carefully before, but now they looked horrified. "I did not mean that literally," Derek stammered. "I was just venting." "You were just venting about killing your pregnant wife." "I did not say killing. You said you would solve the problem yourself." "What problem were you referring to, Mr. Harrison?" "The pregnancy. And how are you planning to solve that problem if your wife would not terminate the pregnancy willingly?" Derek's face flushed. "I just meant we would talk about it. By pushing her down the stairs." "I never said that. You said accidents happen, and pregnant women fall downstairs all the time. What else could that possibly mean?" Derek's composure cracked. "She was trapping me. She got pregnant on purpose to trap me into staying." "So you felt trapped," Victoria said. "Trapped enough to commit insurance fraud. That had nothing to do with Christine. Trapped enough to forge her signature on documents. I needed her credentials for the business. Trapped enough to take out a $500,000 life insurance policy on her without her knowledge." Derek went quiet. "Trapped enough to beat her and threaten her unborn child." "She is making all of this up," Derek shouted, standing up. "She is a liar. She was supposed to just disappear quietly. She was supposed to fall and have a miscarriage, and that would solve everything. But no. She had to run to her mother and make up these ridiculous accusations." The courtroom erupted. The judge banged his gavel. Derek's lawyer looked like he wanted to disappear. Derek kept shouting, "She is worthless. She was always worthless. I gave her everything, and she could not even do this one simple thing. All she had to do was lose the baby and shut up." Security moved toward him. The judge held him in contempt. His lawyer tried to control him, but Derek shoved him away. "You think you won?" Derek screamed at Christine. "You think this is over? When I get out, I will finish what I started." He lunged toward the prosecution's table. Security tackled him. He was dragged out of the courtroom, still screaming threats. The judge called a recess. Christine sat frozen in her chair, pale and shaking. I put my arms around her. "It is over," I told her. "He just confessed to everything. It is over." The jury deliberated for 3 hours. They found Derek guilty on all counts: domestic violence, assault with intent to cause great bodily harm, insurance fraud, embezzlement, forgery, conspiracy to commit murder, making criminal threats. The judge sentenced him to 15 years in state prison with no possibility of parole for 10 years. The courtroom threats added another 2 years for contempt and violation of the restraining order. Helen immediately filed paperwork terminating Derek's parental rights. Given his conviction for attempting to harm the unborn child, the family court judge approved it without hesitation. Derek was taken away in handcuffs. He did not look at Christine as he left. Outside the courthouse, Christine stood in the winter sunshine, one hand on her pregnant belly. "Is it really over?" she asked. "It is really over," I told her. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. When she opened them, I saw something I had not seen in a year. Peace. 6 months after the trial, I sat in my backyard, watching Christine push Eleanor in a baby swing. Eleanor, named after my mother, had been born in April, a healthy baby girl with Christine's green eyes and a surprisingly calm disposition given everything her mother had been through. The birth had been difficult, complicated by the injuries Christine had sustained. But Dr. Brennan had been there, and Christine had been strong, and Eleanor had arrived at 6 pounds 9 ounces, perfect and beautiful. Christine had moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment 3 months ago. It was modest, but it was hers. She had furnished it slowly, carefully, choosing each piece herself. No one told her what to buy or where to put it. Every decision was her own. She had returned to work at the marketing firm, grateful for Dorothy's understanding. She worked from home most days, but went into the office twice a week. Her co-workers had rallied around her, bringing meals when Eleanor was born, offering babysitting, treating her with kindness and respect. The insurance company had settled with Christine after discovering the fraud Derek had committed using her name. The settlement was substantial, enough to give her financial security for the first time in years. She put most of it into a trust for Eleanor's future, but kept enough to pay off her student loans and build a small emergency fund. Derek's appeals had been denied. He was serving his sentence at a state prison 4 hours away. Christine had not seen him since the trial, and had no intention of ever seeing him again. His parents had reached out once, asking to meet Eleanor. Christine had politely declined. She owed them nothing. Brenda, from the support group, had become one of Christine's closest friends. They met for coffee every week, sharing the challenges and victories of rebuilding their lives. Brenda had introduced Christine to her own circle of friends, women who had never known Christine as Derek's wife, only as herself. Christine had even started dating, cautiously. A man named Thomas, who worked in her building, had asked her to lunch. She had said yes, then immediately panicked and called me. "What if I do not know how to do this anymore?" she had asked. "What if I pick another Derek?" "You will not," I had told her. "Because now you know the warning signs. You know what control looks like, what manipulation sounds like. You will not miss them again." The lunch had gone well. Thomas was kind and patient. He knew about Christine's past because she had been honest with him from the start. He had not run away. He had not pitied her. He had simply said, "Thank you for trusting me with that," and asked if she wanted to see a movie the following week. As for me, I had retired from the police force 2 months after the trial. 23 years was enough. I wanted to spend my time with my daughter and granddaughter. I wanted to help other women the way I had helped Christine. I started volunteering at a domestic violence shelter, using my experience and connections to help victims navigate the legal system. I gave talks at community centers about recognizing abuse. I trained new police officers on how to properly document domestic violence cases and how to treat victims with respect and belief. Helen and I had started a small nonprofit together, providing legal services to domestic violence victims who could not afford attorneys. We called it Eleanor's House, after my mother and my granddaughter. Both of them had been strong women who had faced hardship and survived. Now, watching Christine laugh as Eleanor squealed with delight at the swing, I thought about everything we had been through, the terror of that night when she had collapsed at my door, the rage I had felt seeing her injuries, the determination to make sure Derek paid for what he had done, the satisfaction of watching him be led away in handcuffs. But more than any of that, I thought about the strength my daughter had shown. She had left when leaving seemed impossible. She had testified when she was terrified. She had chosen to heal instead of letting the trauma define her. She had chosen to become a mother even when Derek had tried to take that choice away from her. Christine walked over and sat down beside me, Eleanor now contentedly playing with a stuffed rabbit in her lap. "What are you thinking about?" Christine asked. "How proud I am of you," I said. She smiled, a real smile that reached her eyes. "I could not have done any of this without you." "Yes, you could have," I told her. "You were always strong enough. You just needed to remember that." "Dr. Martinez says I am doing well," Christine said. "She thinks I am ready to stop weekly sessions and move to monthly." "How do you feel about that?" "Scared," Christine admitted, "but also proud. A year ago, I could not imagine being where I am now. I could not imagine being happy again. And are you? Happy?" Christine looked down at Eleanor, then around at the garden, then at me. "Yes," she said. I really am. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching Eleanor discover her toes. The sun was warm, the birds were singing, and for the first time in a long time, everything felt peaceful. Mom, Christine said suddenly, thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for believing me, for fighting for me, for showing me that I deserved better. I took her hand. Sweetheart, that is what mothers do. But more importantly, that is what you did for yourself. You walked out that door at 2 a.m. You chose to survive. You chose to fight back. All I did was stand beside you. You did more than stand beside me, Christine said. You showed me what real strength looks like. Not the kind that uses fear and control, but the kind that protects and empowers. You taught me that asking for help is not weakness, that vulnerability is not failure, that choosing to heal is choosing to live. I thought about the women I worked with now at the shelter, women who showed up with nothing but the clothes on their backs and fear in their eyes. Women who had been told they were worthless, that no one would believe them, that they deserved the abuse they received. I thought about what I told each of them, the same thing I had told Christine that night. Strength is not about never falling, I said. It is about who you become when you rise. It is about recognizing that you deserve safety, love, and dignity, and refusing to accept anything less. It is about understanding that someone else's cruelty does not define your worth. Christine nodded. Dr. Martinez says something similar. She says that healing is not about forgetting what happened or pretending it did not hurt. It is about integrating the experience into your story without letting it be the only chapter. That is wise, I said. She also says that the best revenge against an abuser is living well. Not because we are trying to prove anything to them, but because we are reclaiming the life they tried to take from us. I looked at my daughter, holding her baby, sitting in the sunshine, smiling. Derek had tried to destroy her. He had isolated her, hurt her, terrorized her, nearly killed her, but she had survived. More than survived. She had healed. She had grown. She had built a new life on her own terms. And I had learned something too. I had spent 23 years protecting strangers, solving crimes, serving justice, but the most important thing I had ever done was answer the door at 2 a.m. when my daughter needed me. Real love does not leave bruises. Real justice requires fierce, unwavering commitment to protecting those who cannot protect themselves, and sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply refuse to let cruelty win. Eleanor started fussing, and Christine lifted her up, swaying gently. Time for a nap, little one. As Christine carried Eleanor into the house, I stayed in the garden a moment longer, thinking about all the women who were where Christine had been a year ago. Scared, hurt, trapped, thinking there was no way out. I thought about what I would tell them if they were here right now. You are not alone. You are not crazy. You did not deserve what happened to you. And there is a way out. It will be hard. It will be scary. But on the other side of that fear is freedom. On the other side of that pain is peace. You just have to take the first step. You just have to reach out. You just have to believe that you deserve better. Because you do. Every single person deserves to live without fear. Every person deserves to be treated with respect and dignity. Every person deserves love that lifts them up instead of tearing them down. That is what I had learned through all of this. That is what Christine had taught me by being brave enough to knock on my door. And that is the message I wanted to leave with anyone who heard our story. You deserve better. You are worth fighting for. And there are people who will stand with you if you let them. All you have to do is take that first step. The rest, we will figure out together. I walked back into the house where Christine was settling Eleanor into her portable crib. My daughter, my granddaughter, safe and whole, and building a beautiful future. This was what justice looked like, not just a verdict or a sentence, but healing, growth, peace. A life reclaimed and rebuilt. And it started with one simple truth. No one deserves to be hurt by someone who claims to love them. Remember that. Hold on to that. And if you or someone you know needs help, reach out. There are people waiting to stand beside you, just like I stood beside Christine. You are not alone. You never were. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to stand up for someone you love? Have you witnessed the power of simply being there when someone needed help? What does real strength mean to you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. If this story touched you, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories about courage, healing, and hope. Share this with someone who might need to hear it. Sometimes, one story can change everything. Thank you for listening to our journey. Thank you for caring about Christine and Eleanor and all the women who are still fighting their way to freedom. May you always have the courage to ask for help when you need it, and the wisdom to offer it when someone else does. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.